Good morning. We're doing a sound check here for Walter, and I have a concern. I have a concern here. Can you hear me, Walter? All right.
So I got a new candle because it was a little bit low, but that may make it a little harder. This is the one you light, and then I light this and that. So I need to first go. I'm just lame.
No, but you're able to do necklaces, aren't you?
Well,
I can't do those.
oh, well,
So
we each have our strengths, so I can do necklaces, you can light stuff. You had a good week?
I think I had a decent week.
Mine's been unusual because of having somebody in the house and visiting all the um, old hogs. It's been 6 years since she's been down here. But they used to come every year when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been to this building before. But it's been a long time. Canadian border only fairly recently opened up.
Yeah.
Sure miss them. My nieces are like daughters to me, so we've had some great conversations into the night, so I'm a little ditzy as I've gotten a little less sleep than usual.
Just follow the script. You'll be fine. So Garth is acting quite distant twice.
Okay, thanks for the tip.
Looks like we're 2 minutes early.
Should I ring the bell or?
So we are working through a couple of technical issues right now. We will begin shortly. So my understanding is we will have music on the YouTube service, but for those of us here in the auditorium, it might be a little bit quiet tonight. So we might improvise with some a cappella or something like that. I'm kind of afraid to walk over and pick up a guitar again this week. But we will see what we can do, and we might try to sing something easy like This Little Light instead of the listed music. And then on another Sunday, we will be able to have the wonderful trombone music prepared by Garth and Leslie at another service as well, so we can hear that at a later time. So we're close to beginning. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Toledo on this final day of July 2022. I am Judy Lee Troutman, the service associate today. Our senior minister, the Reverend Dr. T.K. Barger, is leading the service. We are glad you have joined us today in person or on YouTube. We give special welcome to visitors, including my niece, Wendy, who's come maybe the furthest distance today because she comes from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, about 1,300 miles away. So we're glad to have her and any other visitors here today. Our church is composed of people of many belief orientations. Instead of having a set creed, we commit to journeying together as we experience the mystery and wonder of our existence. If you are visiting today, please note the information cards in the pew rack in front of you. If you wish to receive our UUFYI, which updates our many programs and activities, please fill out the yellow card with your contact information. The rainbow card lists our principles and sources that Unitarian Universalist congregations agree to support. We'd like to thank clarinetist Leslie McCage Simmons and trombonist Garth Simmons, even if we don't hear it here in the sanctuary this week, but hopefully people at home will be hearing it. We're between music directors, and so what we hear on audio is what they chose to do, and it would be Garth playing. I hope we hear it soon because he's so wonderful. While we continue the search for a new church musician, if you are musically inclined, you are invited, like Leslie and Garth were, to play an anthem and hymn on Sundays or prepare the complete music for the service. Contact Reverend Tim if you'd like to perform in a company on August 7th, 28th, and September 4th. Those are slots that are still open. Now for a few announcements. The church men's group is tonight at 5 p.m. here at the church. The Tuesday Multi-Faith Meditation Group continues to meet weekly from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. here in person at church in the meditation room. Masks are encouraged for those who attend in person. We will also continue to meet on Zoom for those who choose to meet remotely. The Zoom link remains the same. If you need to have it again, you can contact Karen Christie. Nitwits and Fiberwork Orphans will meet the first Saturday of August. Remember to bring a lunch and your drink. You must wear your mask. See you then. Mark your calendars now. The Toledo Pride Festival is scheduled for Saturday, August 20th at noon. We hope to march with the Maumee Valley UU congregation again this year and plan to invite friends from the Lyons and Oberlin congregations. We need marchers. We will set up a booth and hand out information about our church. This is a great opportunity to show support for our LGBTQIA friends and family. It is also an important way to support our church mission by increasing awareness of our congregation among people who already share our principles but may not yet know it. Contact Jenny Gottman or David Strickler, both here today. Their emails are in the program booklet. Our annual rummage sale, also known as a hoarder downsizing sale, will be on Saturday, September 10th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Are you ready to declutter? We are seeking donated items for this sale, and there will be more information coming right along. We also need many volunteers for jobs big and small. Whatever time you can give us is awesome. We will be holding several planning meetings, so stay tuned for that. And if you're interested in learning more, you can contact Sue Childers at readcrafts@yahoo.com. And now, do we have any other announcements, Jim? Okay, so now opening words by Victoria Safford. What if there were a universe in which a world was born out of a smallish star, and into that world, at some point, flew red-winged blackbirds, and into it swam sperm whales, and into it bloomed crocuses, and into it blew wind to lift the tiniest hairs on naked arms in spring, and into it blew wind into it at some point grew onions out of soil, and in went Mount Everest, and also the coyote that we've spotted in the woods about a mile from here, just after sunrise, on these mornings when the moon is full. The very scent of him makes his brother, our dog, insane with fear and joy and ancient inbred memory. Into that world came animals and elements and planets and imagination, the mind and the mind's eye. If such a universe existed and you noticed it, what would you do? What song would come out of your mouth? What prayer? What praises? What sacred offering? What whirling dance? What religion and what reverential gesture would you make to greet that world every single day that you were in it?
As Judy lights the chalice, these are words of William Ellery Channing. I call that mind free, which jealously guards its intellectual rights and powers, which calls no one master, which does not content itself with a passive or hereditary faith, which opens itself to light whencesoever it may come, which receives new truth as an angel from heaven. And please join me in reciting the covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now, our opening hymn, according to the order of service, and which we expect to have online, is number 20, Be Thou My Vision. And I don't know if we will get perhaps a little bit of sound from headphones or something that might help us to hear. Just project.
Today, what we're going to talk about is what we call our first source. And that means this. We are Unitarian Universalists. And a lot of other religions say that they get their wisdom from their holy book, or maybe from their prophet, or from gods and goddesses. We don't say that. We say that we get our wisdom from 6 different places. And today we're going to talk about that first place. We call it our first source. Got that? All right. The first source is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. So can one of you guys just explain to me really quick what that means? No, you can't, because that's really hard to understand, right? So we're going to break it down today so that we can understand it. So the first part, direct experience. Do you guys have a guess about what that means? Direct experience. That means things that happen to you, things that you see, things that you hear, things that you think, not something that you see on the internet, not something that a minister says in church. It's not something that you read in a book. It's things that happen to you and things that make you feel. The next word is transcending. Do you guys know what that means? It means a few different things, but in this case, things that are transcending mean things that make you feel like the universe is really, really, really big, and we maybe are really, really, really small. Things that just make you think about all the things in the world that we can't know, things we can't touch, things we can't measure, things that make us feel really important feelings. So far, so good? Okay. The next part of the source is mystery and wonder. This is my favorite part of the source. This is the part that I think is the most important. These feelings of mystery and wonder, another thing we say is awe. Do you guys know the word awe, A-W-E? Like, have you ever said, that movie was awesome, or I am in awe of your talent, anything like that? You've never said that? Well, you need to see some awesome movies then, I guess. Awe, a feeling of awe is something that really, really affects you. Maybe it makes you go, whoa. Or maybe it makes your stomach kind of feel tingly. Or maybe it makes you have goosebumps. Sometimes a thing that is awesome, that makes you feel awe, makes your jaw drop open and you think, oh. For me, when I feel or see things that are awesome, I tend to just freeze and focus on those things. And it's like I can't hear or see anything else except those awesome things. Awesome things are things that you think about for a long time after you experience them. Can you ever think of a time when you might have felt awe, when you thought, whoa, anything like that? Maybe you saw a really huge, loud lightning storm that made your windows rattle and made the wind whip around in the trees. Or maybe you went under a waterfall and you could see the water coming down in front of you and you could hear all that crashing. Or maybe if you've ever seen a snake shed its skin, that can make you feel awe. One time, I was reading outside and a butterfly landed on my arm and I froze and I forgot about my book and I just stared at the butterfly and I could feel its little feet on my arm and I saw its wings opening and closing and I didn't want to do anything to change that or to mess that up, so I just froze and looked at the butterfly until it flew away. That was the thing that made me feel awe. So the next part says they're affirmed in all cultures, which that just means these feelings aren't limited to people who are Unitarian Universalists. You don't have to be from Ohio. You don't have to speak English. These are things that everybody across the world feels and thinks that are really important. All right? These things, these awesome things, renew our spirit. Do you have any idea what that means? Nah. If you feel an awesome thing or see an awesome thing, how do you think your body feels afterward? Like if you saw a butterfly land on your arm, how do you think you would feel physically or in your mind? Maybe calm, peaceful, maybe really happy. Maybe your heart's pounding and you feel really excited. So you feel lots of good, lively feelings. So when we say that these feelings renew our spirit, that means that if there's a time in your life when you're just sad or mad, or maybe you don't have a lot of hope, sometimes we can think back on these awesome experiences and they bring back all those good feelings, and that can make us feel a little bit better. So that's what it means when we say they renew our spirit. All right, the next part of it is openness. That means that the more you see these awesome things or feel them or think about them, the easier it becomes for you to see more awesome things. Because sometimes people, and especially adults, we think like, oh my gosh, I have to do this and this and this and this and this, and then I have to go over here and do that and that and that and that and that, and I have to do it all as fast as I can, and then I've got more to do. And that's fine. That happens to a lot of people. But it's not the very best way to live your life. It's better if you can take a breath, calm it down, focus on the things that are around you, maybe smell the roses, maybe you see a rainbow. You do something like that that takes you out of that really hurried, frantic mindset and makes you feel a little bit more calm and peaceful and makes you feel like you've seen something beautiful. So the forces that create and uphold life, what does that mean? What do you think are some forces that create life? Maybe nature? Maybe the sun? Maybe you could say that it's God or a goddess? Or maybe you just think it's all the beauty in the world? Or maybe it's the thought of all the galaxies all around us that are all spinning around and doing things that we don't know about, and we're just here in our tiny little bodies, in our little bitty church, thinking about all those big things. That's what the forces that create and uphold life are. If you ask 10 different people what they are, you might get 10 different answers. It's just kind of what you feel and think about it. So why do you think we talk about our first source? Why do you think we think it's important? Why do you think that's where we get some of our wisdom? This is a question just to think about, not really to answer. If all we did all of our lives was do the things we needed to do and run from here to there and eat up our food and then go to sleep and then wake up and go do more things, what do you think our lives would be like? How would our lives be different? What would we miss out on? Thank you.
as the kids are dismissed along with some adult helpers for religious education time, which in the summer is a lot of playtime, we will have our centering music written by Dave Brubeck, played by Garth Simmons, Stereogram number 10. Please join me for a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. On our minds, in our hearts, there is health, wellness, illness, life, death, issues of state, issues of church, breaking news, old stories. All of these we sit with. These are words by Gordon McKeeman. How does one address a mystery? Cautiously. Let us go cautiously then to the end of our certainty, to the boundary of all we know, to the rim of uncertainty, to the perimeter of the unknown which surrounds us. Reverently, let us go with a sense of awe, a feeling of approaching the powerful holy whose lightning slashes the sky, whose persistence splits concrete with green sprouts, whose miracles are present in every place and moment. Hopefully, out of our need for wholeness in our own lives, the reconciliation of mind and heart, the conjunction of reason and passion, the intersection of the timeless with time. Quietly, for no words will explain the inarticulate or summon the presence that is always present, even in our absence. But what shall I say? Anything, any anger, any hope, any fear, any joy, any request, any word that comes from the depth of being addressed to being itself. Or perhaps nothing, no complaint, no request, no entreaty, no thanksgiving, no praise, no blame, no pretense of knowing or of not knowing. Simply be in the intimate presence of mystery, unashamed, unadorned, unafraid. And at the end, say amen. Let's observe 1 minute of silence. Let us see if we
Our responsive reading today comes from We Are Called to Pay Attention by Amanda Uris Kessler. Please follow along on the screen so that you can read your parts, and I'll read them quietly to help guide those who are viewing this from home. This morning and all mornings, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to our individual lives, to our delights and pains. We are called to understand and cherish ourselves, to take good care of ourselves, to know ourselves as loving and worthy of love. In paying attention to our lives, we give thanks for all that is good in them and work to make the best decisions we can to help us live fully and joyfully. Today and all days, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the people in our lives, to celebrate their joys with them, and to tend to them in their struggles. We are called to bring our compassion, kindness, and patience to our relationships, even as we are grateful for the compassion, kindness, and patience others show to us. In paying attention to the people in our lives, we give thanks for their presence and work to support them to the best of our abilities. Throughout our lives, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the society in which we live. We are called to understand the ways in which the lives of people we don't know and never will know are made harder by political and economic policies that value some kinds of people over other kinds of people. In paying attention to our society, we give thanks for the many people who are working for justice for everyone, and we join in working with them so that all people are treated with the dignity and worth they possess. In all that we do, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the natural world around us. We are called to understand how our decisions help the natural world to flourish or cause it harm. In paying attention to the natural world, we give thanks for the ways it sustains and enriches our lives, and we commit to living sustainably so that all beings have the chance to live, and so that many generations after our own can celebrate the planet and its gifts. Love, compassion, gratitude, and the demands of justice call us to pay attention. As we pay attention, we bless ourselves, each other, our own influence.
The living tradition we share draws from many sources. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Grateful for the religious pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, we are inspired to deepen our understanding and expand our vision. Direct experience, that to me is one of the keys of Unitarian Universalism. We people have something to do with our lives. It's through our own being that we become religious or not. And we get that experience by being part of what happens in the world, in this world, and especially by our personal involvement, our living through bad times and good, struggle and growth. Direct experience is an aspect of religion that isn't prioritized in some faiths unless it's called sin, from which that religion will save you. Or direct experience sometimes in mainstream religions can seem intended to lead to the realization of surrender to a supernatural savior, losing the self in a way to be accepted into a future life after your time on earth has come to an end. We Unitarian Universalists, in contrast, think it's important that we live fully in this world that we know a little bit of, but are learning more about continually. And that whatever happens after death is of less concern than what happens in life now. We're not all self-centered, as there are 6 sources of our living tradition, and direct experience is only one of those sources. But the self is important, and it's better to be selves in community than a mass of sameness, isn't it? Direct experience is what makes each of us unique, for we don't have identical ways even when we experience the same phenomena. The different aspects of our living with and reacting to what comes to us is what builds the self. Direct experience does include our interaction by reading and viewing, from novels and newspapers to stage and screen, for it's what comes into our mind from the world, the direct part, and how we process it in our minds, bodies, being, experience. Maybe that aspect of experience is passive, but it's direct. Direct experience isn't just being a witness, but the ability to reflect on accounts of others by your use of media, learning from tales told by receiving them through your own lens. Active experience, your being physically, emotionally, intellectually involved using all of your senses, might be more experiential in a way because it's happening to you then and there. But your witnessing is not the only direct experience. Direct experience is our looking out and across, focused not on what we know, but on what we can encounter. That includes looking up and beyond into the universe with telescopes, and down and within, exploring the tiniest things we can find with microscopes. But it's also looking level at one another, taking in what the world presents to us. Direct experience is the power of our minds, assisted by our bodies, growing through our continually collecting knowledge. I'm so glad to be a Unitarian Universalist, part of a religion that values the individual as well as the collective, that says direct experience is a religious source. The direct experience source also states that there is a transcending mystery and wonder that moves us to spiritual renewal and openness to whatever it is, the forces that make and continue life. I have called that the awe. Mystery and wonder make for awe. Sometimes we realize how special it is for life to be at all, and then for us to be part of it. That's awe, the transcending mystery and wonder. I'll be speaking more about transcendentalism, that transcending aspect, which is an important part of Unitarian Universalist history and development over the next year, by the way. The direct experience source, as listed in Article 2 of the current Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws, which are under what's intended to be a periodic review, and the current language might not stay in the next iteration of what makes our living tradition one to live by, is the first listed and not necessarily the highest priority. I think that depends on the person of 6 sources of our living tradition. That's one reason why I wanted to talk about the sources now, while we state our living tradition this way. As this is the first of 6 sermons on the sources of our living tradition, I ought to say a few words about the living tradition itself. What does that mean? One book that I'm using as a resource for this sermon series, Sources of Our Faith Inspirational Readings, edited by Kathleen Rowlands and published by Skinner House Books, the Unitarian Universalist angled publishing house owned by the Unitarian Universalist Association, says that the living tradition reflects the ever-flowing stream of human thought and spirituality. I can say that tradition is religion as humans have observed it throughout history, and living is how we make it vital today. Living tradition isn't a paradox, but more of a plant analogy, maybe, alongside Kathleen Rowlands' water metaphor. It's a grounding in the past and in the ways of existing religion, so that there's a growing and evolving approach to spirituality now. Along with living tradition, I'll give a few words about religious pluralism. That paragraph, grateful for the religious pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, we are inspired to deepen our understanding and expand our vision, is at the end of section C 2.1 of the Unitarian Universalist Association's bylaws. And that is the part that lists our purposes and principles and sources. It could change in the revision too. We shouldn't gloss over that final phrase after the lists of principles and 6 sources. It's important, I think, to state that we're not just pluralists in that we accept the values of more than one world religion, but that the religious pluralism makes up our individual sacred selves. The pluralism that comes from direct experience, from world religions, from teachings and lives of inspirational people and approaches, from all that filtered through our own thoughts and actions, makes each of us pluralists, having commonalities and differences among one another, but using that to build beloved community. Your own thoughts and experiences are important, not just what you're taught, but what you live. That's direct experience. Live here and now. Have the awe of the near impossibility of life happening at all in the universe and in humans being. And based on what we have observed through history, make that sacred to yourself. The awe from direct experience might be the closest tie to religious embodiment. Be holy in your existence. Be one with all. From direct experience to universal awe. So be it.
Thank you, Reverend Chike, for that very interesting exploration of a source that is personally very dear to me. And now it's time for our offering. Our pledges and offerings are a way that we can support this self-sustaining church, its many programs, and its mission in the broader community. You may give online by going to our website, utoledo.org, and click on Give, and then click on Online Giving. You may instead mail a check to First Unitarian Church, 3205 Glendale Avenue, Toledo 43614. And you may also drop your donations or even a little extra in the basket on the welcome table in the entranceway.
And for coming soon, next Sunday at 9:45 a.m. here in Fellowship Hall is our spiritual forum. In July and August, we've been kind of improvising, kind of deciding on a topic the last minute or having a discussion over an issue that might be in the world or on our minds. This week we saw The Zen Mind, a video, a film documentary on Zen Buddhism. Next week, we'll see what we come up with Sunday morning. You're invited. And then at 11 a.m. next week is our Sunday service on prophetic people's words and deeds.
And coming very soon, right after the service, you may join us in Fellowship Hall, which is down the hall and to your left, for coffee and an opportunity to greet others. And now for some closing words by Thich Nhat Hanh. I like to walk alone on country paths, rice plants and wild grasses on both sides, putting each foot down on the earth in mindfulness, knowing that I walk on the wondrous earth. In such moments, existence is a miraculous and mysterious reality. People usually consider walking on water or in thin air a miracle, but I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. Every day, we are engaged in a miracle which we don't even recognize: a blue sky, white clouds, green leaves, the black, curious eyes of a child, our own two eyes. All is a miracle.
As we send the flame of our chalice into the community, may it illumine our direct experience of this world and the life created and upheld, sparking mystery and wonder while renewing our spirit.